Good morning, everyone. It is me, Jackie Wilson, and I am live again today for another motivating video. This video is going to be inspiring, encouraging, it's going to be informative, it's going to share a lot of great information about domestic violence and sexual violence. And a lot of times I've heard through the years that people think that domestic violence is a choice, or for someone to be sexually abused is a choice. I want to share with you that that's not a choice. It's not like we're waking up in the morning and we have a stamp over our head to say, I want to be abused. We're not walking around with a stamp that say, I want to be treated with disrespect, or I don't want to be loved. We don't walk around with a stamp on our forehead saying, it's okay to just treat me any kind of way. That's not what is happening. And I'm going to share with you a little bit more about it as we go on through this video. But I wanted to just kind of put that out there because that's what a lot of people think, that domestic violence is a choice. Well, if you weren't in that relationship, this wouldn't have happened. If you leave from that person, this wouldn't happen. And so we hear a lot in our community, we hear a lot of individuals talking about the negatives as far as the myths. Well, she must like it because she's still in that relationship. Well, no, that's not true. Because no one, as I said, wakes up in the morning and wants to be abused. Sometimes we feel trapped in those relationships. And I'm not going to talk specifically about me, but if you've been following me long enough, you know that I'm a survivor of domestic violence. And so today I want to just kind of share and hopefully to eliminate some of those myths that people have and to help change your perception of what domestic violence is and how you can see in your family, friends, neighbors, somebody you work with that could be struggling in that area, and how to be able to help them to move forward, and how to, number one, change your mindset, change your perception towards domestic violence. It is not a choice. Trust me, it's not a choice. I didn't grow up that way, so for me, it was not a choice for me to be in this relationship that was abusive to me. So what I mean by it's not a choice, I'm going to share some stats with you, okay, just in order to kind of help you. But before we get into those stats, I want to just tell you what domestic violence is. Well, domestic violence is a pattern of systemic behavior that is displayed in any relationship by one person. And that person's sole reason for doing that is for that person, him or her, to gain, maintain power and control over that other individual in an intimate partner relationship. Okay, so it's like there's an imbalance of power. So the one person is controlling everything, and the other mate that's in the relationship has succumbed to all of the mental, emotional, psychological, physical, verbal, and sexual abuse that individual has been displaying to them. Now, you may ask, why would someone stay in that kind of a relationship? Well, I'm glad that you asked me that question, and I want to share that with you. This happens before they've even met that person. The issues that they're dealing with, the struggles that they have. The reason why they may find themselves in that kind of a relationship is because something has happened before, or they're a person where they feel like they can rescue another person, okay? I was in that rescue syndrome for myself. And so let me just share the other side of that. So if a person was raised in an abusive environment, then that person is going to be more likely to see that as a healthy relationship, or see that as that's the environment that I was raised in. My parents went through that. I saw family members go through that. So that's just the norm for me. And so that's how I'm gonna, encounter different relationships. How I view relationships now is because this is what my environment was. But it can also happen later on down the line. So what if they didn't grow up in that type of an environment? What if they met somebody, maybe in their teen years or maybe in their early adult years, and they fell in love with this person, and that person was good, good to them in the beginning. That person was manipulating them, but they didn't know that. And then they didn't know that the hidden agenda behind that person was that person is an abuser. But that person showed them a lot of good parts of them. They wooed them, they loved them, they gained their love, their respect, their trust. And all of this happened over a course of a few months, right? Could have even gone into 6 months or a year before this person actually started, as we like to call it, they sent their representative out, right? And then after that, we see the actual person. Okay, so over the course of that type of environment, that kind of a relationship, that person is building trust. That person is loving on that person. They're enjoying each other's company. So when the abuse does start, they're not even aware that they're in a manipulative, abusive relationship. Because even though they're having the ups and downs, to them, that's just how relationships are. They're trying to adjust to what's going on. There hasn't been any physical abuse yet. Okay, maybe there's been some manipulating, not maybe, there has been some manipulating. There's been some different tactics being used in terms of isolating that person, maybe from their family, from their friends, from their circle, going through that process. There could have also been some verbal words that have been said to that individual, and they think, oh, okay, he just likes to curse, or that's just how she is. She likes to curse. So they're not really paying too much attention to these different behaviors in the beginning, in the course of that relationship, okay? Because it has become the norm for them on how they're communicating. And maybe that person is cursing back at them too, and they're going through this. Then there's a shift that happens in that relationship. When it shifts, it goes to the person that is the more of the controlling. They become even more controlling to the other person. And that person is trying to figure out what's going on. Could it be stress at the job? Is it a loss in the family? Is it money shortage? They're trying to rationalize why this person's behavior has changed. What have I done to cause this person to change? So it's a lot of different factors that play into why this individual has stayed in this relationship the length of time that they've stayed in it, because it wasn't always bad. But then it started to become an unhealthy, unhappy relationship. And by that time, that person had invested so much time into there. So then they decide to stay. Now, if it becomes physical, then that's a little bit different in terms of why that person would stay. They're probably fearful of that individual. That person has done some things to them, or maybe threatened to do something to their children, to their pets if they don't have kids, but they look at their pets as children, to their family members, to oust them out if they're in the LGBTQ plus community, to come out, say, hey, this person's in the closet, to put them out. It's so many different reasons why that person feels obligated to stay in that relationship. It's not that they love that relationship how it is. They're feeling obligated to stay in that relationship because of different things that have transpired throughout that relationship and how that person is feeling. They had low self-esteem when they met this person. Guess what? The low self-esteem is going to be even lower, right? If they have come in there with high self-esteem and this person has treated them like, hey, you're the queen that you are, the king that you are. And then later on down the line, they start changing. They're going to see those positive attributes that they liked about that person. They're going to see them as negative, and they're going to use that against that person. You're controlling, you think you this, you think you all of that, why are you so vain? They're going to say all of these negative things. You're selfish. And then it's going to make you start to think, well, am I selfish? Am I being vain? Do I have too much self-confidence? Do I make this person feel less than? Do I make this person feel like, his ego is being questioned? Do I make him feel like he's less than a man because I'm an independent person? So you don't want to feel this way, right? Because that's the person that you love. He or she is the person that you love. So you're going to go through, chances are, you're probably going to go through a self-evaluation and start making changes of who you are in order to fit or to compromise with what this individual has told you. And over time, all of this is setting you up for you to be in this abusive relationship. You're in the abusive relationship and you just don't know that you're in there. So let me share this with you. The reason why I say that abuse is not a choice, okay? So you tell me if this is a choice after I read these stats to you. 1 in 5 women and about 1 in 7 men report having experienced severe physical violence in an intimate partner relationship. About 1 in 5 women and 1 in 12 men have experienced sexual violence by an intimate partner in their relationship. 10% of women and 2% of men report having been stalked by an intimate partner during the relationship and after the relationship. So now, you tell me, is this a choice? These stats that I've just shared with you, is this truly a choice? You mean to tell me that 1 in 5 women have chosen to be in this kind of a relationship, or 1 in 7 men has chosen to be in this type of a relationship? Now, what about this? 20 people per minute are victims of physical violence in an intimate partner relationship somewhere in the United States. 69.4 million approximate number of people in the U.S. who experience physical violence in an intimate partner in their lifetime. Okay? Over 20,000 phone calls are made to the domestic violence hotline or helpline daily. Alarming. Alarming. So you ask me, or I'm asking you, do you think that abuse is a choice? Did this person actually make a decision to be in this kind of a relationship? Now, let me just share this with you. Men who are victimized are less likely to report their situation to the police than women. You want to know why? Because men are looked at as the provider, as the protector, as, the man. They have to be in control. They have to be stronger. If they're showing weakness, if they're in a relationship and that person is abusive to them, whether it's verbal abuse, physical abuse, and emotional abuse, they're less likely to report that. Even if it's in a heterosexual relationship. What if it's in an LGBTQ plus relationship community, right? Would that person be less likely to report? Yes, they would, because then they're going to be outed if they haven't come out to say, as they say, if that person is in the closet, if they have not come out, they're not going to want people to know that, right? But if they are very open about their lifestyle, and that they are, gay or lesbian or whatever their title may be, however they see themselves, if they were to talk about, I'm in an abusive relationship and they're a male, can you imagine the backlash they're going to get? Can you imagine a heterosexual male is going to get some backlash? What amount of backlash they would get from their friends, family members? If they were to go before and talk to the police, what the police would look at them like, how they would judge them, how they would, look down on them because of this is what they've experienced. So men are less likely to report to the police than women are. Okay, so now let's get a little bit more into, I want to kind of bring this up. Now, during the pandemic, being shut in during that time last year, 40% of women who experienced domestic violence reported crimes did not seek help or sought help. I'm sorry, they looked for help. But during this pandemic time, you figure that's a 40% increase of domestic violence. We're less than 40. I'm sorry, let me read this again. I don't want to misquote this. Less than 40% of women who experienced violence reported these crimes or sought help. Okay, so it's less than 40%, not more than 40. So I apologize for that. So less than 40% of the women were able to try to get help or did get help during the pandemic. That's a huge increase from what was going on before, the stats that were going on before the pandemic with domestic violence. Now, let's take it a little bit further and let's go into when we talk about, is it a choice, right? So no, it's not a choice. So you mean to tell me that 243 million women and girls aged 15 to 49 experience sexual and physical violence by an intimate partner just in the past year? That was a choice? No, that was not a choice. What I'm sharing with you is not a choice. It is something that has happened in these individuals' lives that has caused them to be in a place where they feel less than, where their self-esteem has been challenged, where their self-worth has been challenged, their self-confidence, their self-image has been damaged through the years. 9 times out of 10 is because of some form of abuse that person has experienced as a child, as a preteen, as a teenager, and they carry that into their adult life. And so they think, well, this is what I've experienced in my younger years under 18. And so now that I'm over 18, this is just how my life is. This is just how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to have these type of unhealthy relationships because that has become the norm for them. And this is the same thing for men. So if boys have seen abuse, they're more likely to become abusers as they get older. And statistics say that women or young girls, when they have been in that type of an environment, abusive environment as a child, when they become an adult, they're more likely to become a victim. Can they be a perpetrator? Yes, they can. They can be the abuser. Men and women can be an abuser. Men and women can be the victim as well of domestic and sexual violence. So there is no gender to say, there is no, how can I say, immunity for gender. Okay. Men and women can be abusers and can be victims as well. Okay. So I just want you to kind of think about that. Now, let me just share with you a little bit about the LGBTQ plus community. So 44% of lesbian women and 61% of bisexual women compared to 35% of heterosexual women experience rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Okay, 26% of gay men, 37% of bisexual men, compared to 29% of heterosexual men have experienced rape, physical violence, and or stalking in their lifetime from an intimate partner that they've been involved with. So just some things to kind of think about. I wanted to share with you also, I had a stat about the as far as for work, and I wanted to, let me see if I can find that before we finish with this video, because this is very, very alarming to know that this is what's happening in the workplace, that people have lost they're losing their jobs in the workplace, and it is alarming. So let me see if I can find this out really quick. Just bear with me while I pull this up. I had it before. I don't know how I lost it. Where was that one that I found? It's alarming. So let me just pull this up, and I'll just say this one. Oops, come on. Let me pull this up. Just bear with me, okay? I'm going to get it together. I'm going to get it together, guys. I'm going to get it. I'm working on it. I'm getting this together. Okay, here you go. So $1.8 billion. Domestic violence results in a $1.8 billion loss in productivity due to domestic violence. Domestic violence victims lose nearly 8 million days of paid work per year in the United States. That is an equivalent to 32,000 full-time jobs and $1.8 billion annually in productivity. Okay, so domestic violence, it does affect the home. It affects your job. It affects your career. It affects you financially, economically. It affects every aspect of your life. So when we talk about, is domestic violence a choice? I want you to know it's not a choice. I just proved it to you with these stats. It is not a choice. So please look at changing your perception when you talk about domestic violence, that you change your perception and you see it more in a way where there's help that needs to happen. Resources need to be available for individuals like myself and other people that have been a survivor or is a survivor currently that's trying to move forward and rebuild their lives and get back on track. There should be several millions of ways for individuals, as far as shelters, as far as resource places to go to, as far as some type of resource should be available in order to help these individuals to get themselves on a better track, a better path in life to be able to move forward. And I just want to thank you guys for joining in today, for listening to this video. And I hope that you'll pass this on, you'll share it on to other people. You know, you'll gain some knowledge from this message as well. And with that being said, I will see you guys when you got it on the next video. And I'll share my book on the next video. Have a great day. I'll put it into the feed of the video as well for you to see it. Okay. With that being said, have a great day. Bye-bye.